He vanished in the mountains, then sent me a letter. The letter arrived on a gray morning, tucked inside my mailbox like an uninvited ghost. The paper was weathered, the ink smudged, and the handwriting, his handwriting, was unmistakable. It had been 6 months since Alex vanished in the mountains. 6 months since the rescue teams came back empty-handed, muttering about dangerous slopes, sudden storms, and the unforgiving wilderness. We held a memorial because everyone insisted he was gone. Everyone but me. When I tore open the letter, my hands shook so violently I nearly ripped it in half. "I'm still here," the letter read, "but I'm not alone. I can't come back. Not yet. You need to know what happened." There was no return address, only a faint smell of pine and something else, something metallic like rusted blood. That's when I knew I had to go back to the mountains. The mountains were our favorite escape. Alex loved their silence, the way they swallowed noise and time. The last time I saw him, we were packing gear for a weekend hike through the glacier range. He had been distracted, almost distant, his blue eyes darting toward the tree-line as if something out there was calling to him. "This trail feels different," he said, glancing at the map. "I heard a local talk about an old logging route that isn't on here anymore. Want to check it out?" I said no. I wanted the safety of marked paths and clear campsites. He laughed, kissed my forehead, and said, "Suit yourself. I'll be back before you know it." He never came back. The search teams combed the glacier range for weeks. They found his backpack near a dry creek bed, ripped open like something had torn apart. His boots were found miles from there, half buried in mud. No footprints. No sign of struggle. Just nothing. The locals whispered about the mountains being hungry this time of year, about hikers who wandered off and never returned. When I pressed for details, an old ranger just shook his head and muttered, "Some places aren't meant for people." The letter in my trembling hands was more than a message. It was a confession, a plea, and a warning all at once. "There's a cabin deep past where the map ends," Alex wrote. "I shouldn't have gone there, but something kept calling me. It wasn't a voice at first, just a feeling, like I was being pulled forward. I think I've seen things. Shapes. Sometimes I hear footsteps at night. Not animals. I'm not alone here." There was a blotch of something dark on the paper, maybe blood, and below that, one last line written in jagged letters. "Don't come for me." But I was already packing. The trailhead was exactly as I remembered it. Quiet, desolate, the trees looming like watchful sentinels. The wind whistled through the pines, carrying with a strange scent, something stale and earthy, like rotting leaves. As I climbed higher, I felt it, the same pull Alex described. It was subtle at first, a strange pressure in my chest, but the deeper I went, the stronger it became, like invisible hands were guiding me. By nightfall, I found the dry creek bed where his backpack had been discovered. My flashlight beam danced across the rocks, and for a second, I could swear I saw footprints. Bare feet. I found it on the second day, a weathered cabin crouched between the trees, like it had been waiting for me. Its roof sagged, its windows boarded over, but faint smoke curled from the chimney. Someone was inside. I called Alex's name, my voice cracking, but the door creaked open on its own. The smell hit me first, metallic, earthy, like wet rust and mold. Inside, the cabin was dark, lit only by a dying fire. There were carvings on the walls. Strange symbols I didn't recognize, circles and jagged lines, each one etched deep into the wood, as if by desperate hands. On the table sat another letter. My blood went cold as I read it. "You shouldn't have come. It doesn't like visitors. It's watching you now." I turned sharply, scanning the cabin. My flashlight flickered. In the corner of the room, near the fireplace, something moved, a shadow that didn't belong to me. Then I heard it. A voice. Low, guttural, almost human. "He belongs to me now." The door slammed shut behind me, the sound echoing like a gunshot. I tried to scream, but the air felt heavy, like the room itself was crushing my lungs. The shadow peeled off the wall, detaching from the surface like smoke, and moved toward me. Then I heard it again, closer now. A voice, but distorted, guttural, and warped. It sounded like Alex, but there was something wrong about it. something twisted. "Come closer," it whispered. "I'm still here." I don't remember how I got out. One moment the shadow was inches from me, its darkness swallowing the room, and the next I was running, branches clawing at my face as I bolted through the woods. I didn't stop until I collapsed on the trail, gasping for air. When I looked back, the cabin was gone. I'm writing this now, days later, with Alex's letter spread out in front of me. There's a third one, delivered just this morning, though I haven't opened it yet. The envelope is damp, as though it came through the rain, but there's no postmark. I think I know what it will say. I think he wants me to join him. If you're hearing this, remember this one thing. Some people don't just vanish. Sometimes they're taken, and when they write back, it's not always a message you want to read. I hadn't opened the letter yet, but I knew what it would say. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach, a gnawing dread that I couldn't shake. The envelope was damp, soaked through as though it had been exposed to rain, or something worse. There was no postmark, no return address, just my name scrawled across the front in that same familiar handwriting. Alex's handwriting. But this time, there was something more, something different. A slight tremor in the letters that wasn't there before. Like he was trying to tell me something, but couldn't. I stared at the envelope, my hands still trembling. I had to know what it said. I had to understand. I tore it open, the faints in a pine and rusted metal drifting up, the same as the last letter. I unfolded the paper slowly, almost reverently. Asterisk, asterisk, it's too late. It found me. Asterisk, asterisk. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't breathe, my chest tightening with panic. The next line was even worse. Asterisk, asterisk, it's waiting for you. If you try to leave, it will follow. It's not just in the mountains anymore. It's in me. And now, backslash, it's in you, asterisk, asterisk. I dropped the letter, my mind spinning. The walls of my apartment suddenly felt too small, suffocating. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. There was only silence. And the gnawing feeling, the one I couldn't shake, that someone was watching me. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about the cabin, about the shadow that had attached itself in the walls, the way it had moved toward me like it was alive. I kept thinking about Alex's voice, how it had been distorted, broken, but still unmistakable. I remember his last words before he disappeared, how he had joked about the hike, about getting lost in the woods, about a trail no one knew about. Now I knew better. He hadn't been lost. He had found something he wasn't supposed to. It was almost dawn when I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, feeling like I was in a trance. The letter still lay on the table, its words burning into my mind. I had to go back. I had to find him. I couldn't leave him out there alone, not after everything he'd said, not when he had reached out to me like this. I packed my bag with nothing but essentials, clothes, flashlight, a map, a first aid kit. I thought about taking a weapon, but something stopped me. Something in the back of my mind whispered that no weapon would protect me from whatever had taken Alex. By the time I got to the trailhead, the sun was barely above the horizon, casting long shadows across the ground. The mountains loomed ahead, dark and foreboding. The same mountains where Alex had vanished. I had no plan, no guide, except for the letter and the feeling that something was waiting for me. But I had to do this. For Alex. The forest was quieter this time. There was no wind, no animals, just the crushing silence that enveloped me as I ventured deeper into the woods. I retraced Alex's steps, following the same path we had taken, but this time it was different. The trees felt wrong. The ground beneath my feet shifted, as though it was alive, like the earth itself was watching me. I could hear the whispers again, soft at first, like a distant murmur carried by the wind. But the further I went, the louder they became. They weren't just voices. They were commands. Turn back. Go home. You don't belong here. I shook my head, trying to block them out, but the whispers only grew louder, more urgent. Every step felt like I was being pulled deeper into the woods, into the place where Alex had disappeared. I knew I was getting close. I could feel it. And then I saw it. Through the trees, I caught a glimpse of the cabin. half hidden in the shadows, its broken windows staring at me like hollow eyes. Smoke curled from the chimney, just like before. The same eerie metallic smell wafted toward me, and I felt my stomach lurch. I stood frozen for a moment, staring at the cabin. Something was wrong. Something had changed. The air felt thicker now, heavier, as though the very woods themselves were holding their breath. I forced myself to move forward, my legs shaking with each step. I wasn't sure if I was more afraid of the cabin or what was waiting inside it. I had to see it for myself. I had to know what Alex had found. When I reached the door, I hesitated. The door was ajar, the same way it had been when I first arrived. But this time, I could hear something inside, something moving. Slow, deliberate steps. A low growl that wasn't quite human. "Alex!" I called, my voice trembling. The growling stopped. And then I heard a laugh, soft, hollow. A laugh that chilled me to the bone. "You shouldn't have come," the voice said, but it wasn't Alex's voice. It was distorted, warped, like it was coming from deep underwater. I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. The door creaked open wider, and in the dim lighted cabin, I saw movement. A figure, tall and thin, shrouded in darkness. It stood still for a moment, its head tilted to one side, then slowly, too slowly, it began to move toward me. I backed away, my feet tripping over the roots of the trees. As I scrambled to get away, the thing in the cabin laughed again, its voice sending a wave of terror through me. I turned and ran, not caring where I was going, only that I had to get out of there. I had to escape. The trail blurred beneath my feet, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The mountain air felt thick and heavy, like it was pressing down on me. And then I heard it again, footsteps, but not mine. They were behind me, quick, relentless. I glanced over my shoulder, but there was nothing there, only the shadows stretching long across the forest floor. But I could feel it, the thing that had been chasing me since Alex disappeared, the thing that had been waiting for me in the mountains. And now it was here. I didn't stop running until my lungs burned like fire, and my legs felt as though they would give out beneath me. The forest was a maze of black trunks and gnarled branches, twisting and closing in as if the mountain itself wanted to trap me. My flashlight shook in my hand, its beam slicing to the dark, but every flicker of light only seemed to reveal something worse. A face carved into a tree, a shadow leaning just out of reach, footprints where there should be none. Somewhere behind me, branches snapped. Slow, measured, deliberate. I spun around, my heart hammering, but the path was empty. There was nothing but the faint rustle of the trees. Yet the sound of breathing lingered, a slow, wet inhale, followed by a shuddering exhale, like something just on the other side of the dark was savoring the air I breathed. "Alex." My voice cracked, and I hated the way it sounded, weak, broken. Silence. I forced myself forward, my legs trembling. I wasn't even sure where I was going anymore. I'd lost the trail minutes ago, or was it hours? The mountain twisted paths in ways that didn't make sense, doubling back on itself, making me feel like I was walking in circles. Every tree looked the same. Every rock seemed familiar. I could feel the weight of the mountain pressing in, suffocating me with its presence. And then I saw it. The cabin. Again. My breath hitched. I was sure I'd run in the opposite direction, that I'd left it behind. But there it was, sitting in the clearing like it had never moved. The smoke from the chimney curled upward, blackened before, and the faint smell of burnt metal drifted through the air. This time, the door wasn't ajar. It was wide open, as if waiting for me. Something in me broke. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was desperation, but I couldn't run anymore. I needed answers. I needed to know if Alex was still inside. I approached slowly, each step sinking into the wet ground. My fingers brushed the handle, and the door creaked louder, the sound sharp and piercing in the stillness. Inside, the cabin looked different. The symbols on the walls were glowing faintly, pulsing like they were alive. The dying fire from before was roaring now, casting jagged shadows across the room. And on the table, there was something new, a photograph. It was of Alex, but not the Alex I remembered. His eyes were black voids, his mouth sewn shut with rough, dark thread. I dropped the photo, my hands shaking uncontrollably. "Leave," a voice whispered behind me. I spun around, the flashlight beam cutting across the room, but no one was there. Only the shadow, stretched along the wall, taller now, its head tilted like it was studying me. "You're not him," I said, my voice barely a whisper. The shadow twitched. Then it stepped forward, peeling away from the wall as though it was made of tar. A wave of cold swept over me, and I stumbled back, my spine hitting the table. My flashlight flickered violently as the thing's form took shape. Taller than any person, its limbs too long, its body a shifting mass of darkness. "He called us," it said, its voice a chorus of whispers and screams. "And now you are here." "Where's Alex?" I demanded, though my voice trembled. It tilted its head further, the sound of bones cracking echoing in the silence. "He is part of us now. He belongs to the mountain. Soon, so will you." I backed toward the door, but it slammed shut on its own, the sound reverberating through the cabin like thunder. I was trapped. The shadow began to move again, gliding toward me, its form rippling and shifting, like smoke in a storm. My mind screamed at me to run, but there was nowhere to go. I could only watch as it reached for me, its hand, a mass of writhing black tendrils, stretching toward my chest. Then I heard something else. "Run." It was Alex's voice. Real, not distorted. It came from behind the shadow, from somewhere deeper in the cabin. The shadow froze, its form trembling, like it was angry. "Run." Alex shouted again. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the flashlight and dove toward the window, shattering the glass with my elbow. Pain exploded through me as shards cut into my skin, but I didn't care. I climbed through, landing hard on the wet ground outside, and scrambled to my feet. The forest erupted behind me with a deafening roar, like the mountain itself was screaming. I ran again, branches tearing at my arms and face. I didn't look back, couldn't look back. I could still hear Alex's voice, faint but urgent, echoing through the trees. "Don't let it follow you." The path twisted and bent in ways I didn't recognize. My legs were on autopilot, my mind a blur of panic and confusion. All I wanted was to get out of the woods, to get off this cursed mountain. But every time I thought I found a way down, the trees closed in again, forcing me deeper. Then, ahead, I saw something that stopped me cold. A light, not a flashlight or a lantern, but a single, flickering candle sitting on a tree stump in the middle of the trail. Next to it was another letter, weighted down by a stone. With shaking hands, I picked it up. The paper was damp and cold, and the writing inside was frantic, almost unreadable. Asterisk, you can't leave. Not without me. Follow the light. But don't listen to the voices. Don't look at them. They'll try to trick you. They'll try to show you things. Just keep going. Asterisk. It was signed with Alex's name. The candle flickered, its flame sputtering in the wind. I felt that pull again, that invisible force, like hands on my shoulders pushing me forward. I didn't know if I should trust the letter, or if this was just another trick of the mountain. But then I heard footsteps behind me again. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. I didn't look back. I took the candle and followed the trail it illuminated, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The whispers returned, louder now, circling me from every direction. "You'll never find him. He's already gone. Turn around. It's behind you." I kept walking, every nerve screaming at me to look over my shoulder. But I remembered Alex's words. "Don't look." The candle led me to another clearing, and that's when I saw it. Another cabin. Not the same one. This one was older, collapsing in on itself, its walls rotting and covered in moss. But the door was wide open, and inside, I thought I saw movement. Something told me Alex was there. The second cabin looked even older than the first, as though it had been here long, before anyone had mapped these mountains. Its roof sagged under years of rain and rot, and its walls were dark with moss and mold, blending almost seamlessly with the forest around it. The open door beckoned like a mouth waiting to swallow me whole, and though every instinct screamed at me to turn and run, my feet carried me forward. Something about the air here was different. It wasn't just heavy and damp. It was alive, breathing with me, pulsing faintly under my skin. I gripped the candle tighter. Its weak flame flickered against the suffocating dark, casting strange shapes that twisted across the trees like living shadows. I thought of Alex, his face, his laugh, the warmth of his hand in mine. I couldn't abandon him now, not when I'd come this far. The moment I stepped onto the creaking porch, the candle flame bent inward, almost as if trying to hide. A chill ran through me. The door wasn't just open. It looked like it had been ripped from its hinges and set back in place, crooked and splintered. "Alex," I whispered, my voice shaking. The sound of my own voice felt wrong here, like it didn't belong, like I was intruding on something ancient and sacred. There was no response, no footsteps, no breathing. Just silence. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first, wet earth, rotting wood, and something else metallic and acrid, like the coppery tang of blood. The floor groaned under my weight as I moved deeper, my candlelight struggling to pierce the thick shadows clinging to the corners. The walls were lined with old, broken furniture, chairs missing legs, a table split in half, shelves holding nothing but dust and cobwebs. Then I saw them, carvings. Just like the first cabin, the walls were covered in symbols, circles intersected by jagged lines, crude shapes of human figures with hollow eyes and mouths stretched open in silent screams. Some of them looked fresh, as if the wood had been clawed at only recently. My fingers brushed one of the carvings, and for a moment I could swear it was warm. "Don't touch them." I froze. The voice came from deeper inside, beyond a half-collapsed doorway. It was faint but unmistakable. "Alex. Alex," I called, stepping toward the sound. My heart leapt into my throat. "Keep the light," he whispered. "Don't let it go out." I swallowed hard and pushed the broken door aside. What I saw made my knees buckle. Alex was sitting in the corner of the room, his back against the wall, his face pale and gaunt. His once bright eyes were sunken and ringed with dark circles, and his lips trembled as he looked at me. He was thinner, almost skeletal, like the forest had been feeding on him for months. "Alex, oh my God, it's really you." "Stay there," he said quickly, his voice sharp. "Don't cross the circle." I looked down. A series of symbols had been scratched into the floor, forming a crude circle around him. Candles, long burned down to pools of wax, lined its edges. I realized, with a jolt, that the symbols matched the ones on the walls. "What is this?" I whispered, taking a step closer. "Protection," Alex said, his voice barely audible. "It can't touch me here, not while the circle holds." "What is it?" I asked, my voice breaking. Alex's eyes darted to the shadows in the corner of the room, where the candlelight barely reached. "The mountain," he said, his voice trembling. "It's alive, or something inside it is. It watches. It waits." I thought I could leave, but every time I tried, it pulled me back. It shows you things that make you doubt what's real. It feeds on fear, and once it has you, it doesn't let go. I knelt down just outside the circle, tears stinging my eyes. "We'll get out. Together. We'll find a way." "No," Alex said, shaking his head. "It won't let us both go. It needs one of us to stay. That's the rule." "What rule?" "The rule of the mountain," he said, his voice cracking. "Every time someone comes here, it takes one. If that person escapes, it follows them back. The only way anyone leaves is if someone else stays behind willingly." The words made my blood run cold. Before I could respond, a sound tore through the cabin, a low, guttural growl, like something massive exhaling just behind the walls. The air grew heavy, pressing down on my chest until I could barely breathe. "It's here," Alex whispered, his eyes wide with terror. The shadows in the corner began to move, writhing and twisting like smoke. Slowly, they coalesced into a shape, tall, thin, and impossibly dark, as though it absorbed every drop of light around it. The candle in my hand flickered violently. "Stay in the circle," Alex hissed. "Don't let it get between us." The figure glided forward, its limbs bending unnaturally, its head tilting in sharp, jerky motions. I couldn't see its face. There was nothing there, just a hollow void, but I could feel it looking at me. A voice filled the room, low and distorted, vibrating to the floorboards. "Leave him. Stay, and I will let him go." My blood turned to ice. "You're lying," I said, my voice trembling. "You don't want either of us to leave." The thing tilted its head, and the temperature in the cabin dropped, so suddenly I could see my breath. Alex gripped the edge of the circle, his fingers white. "Don't listen to it. Whatever you do, don't make a deal with it." The thing moved closer, its form blurring, shifting. I felt it brushing against my mind, pushing thoughts into my head, images of home, of safety, of warmth. All I had to do was stay. Then something strange happened. The carvings on the wall began to glow, the same symbols that lined Alex's circle. A low hum filled the cabin, growing louder, resonating in my bones. The creature hissed, a sound like steam escaping, and recoiled slightly. "Do you feel that?" I whispered. Alex nodded. "The symbols, they hurt it, but they don't last. They fade unless..." "Unless what?" "Unless someone feeds them." Before I could ask what he meant, the creature lunged forward. The candles around Alex sputtered violently, and the circle's glow dimmed. "Run!" Alex shouted. I shook my head. "I'm not leaving you. You don't understand. If the circle breaks, it takes both of us." The floor beneath me shuddered, cracks spiderwebbing across the rotting wood. I could feel the mountain's heartbeat now, pounding through the ground, calling us deeper into its belly. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed the largest piece of broken wood I could find and plunged it into one of the glowing symbols on the wall. To my shock, the glow brightened, and the creature let out a horrible shriek, its form distorting violently. "Keep going," Alex shouted. I smashed another symbol, and another, each time the light flaring brighter, pushing the shadow back. The cabin shook as the thing howled, retreating into the corners like a wounded animal. But I knew this was only temporary. When the noise subsided, Alex looked at me, his face pale and streaked with sweat. "We can't fight it forever," he said. "We need to leave now while it's weak." I nodded, gripping the candle tighter. We both knew the path out of the mountains wasn't going to be simple, but we had no choice. As we stepped outside, the forest was silent again, suffocatingly so. The candle's flame danced nervously in the wind, as if it knew what was coming. "Which way?" I asked. Alex pointed to a trail I didn't recognize. "It doesn't matter. None of these trails lead out anymore. But there's a place I haven't tried. A cave. I think that's where it began." I swallowed hard. "And what's in the cave?" Alex's eyes were hollow. "The heart of it. If we want to leave, we'll have to go through it." The forest around us seemed to lean in as we made our way toward the cave, as though the trees themselves were listening. Each branch creaked with the weight of an unseen watcher. The candle flickered, its flame dimming whenever I hesitated, like it sensed the presence of something malevolent just beyond the tree line. Alex walked ahead, his movements slow and deliberate, as though every step was a battle. His face, once warm and familiar, was now a hollow mass of exhaustion and fear. "Don't stop," he whispered. "Not even for a second. It notices when you pause." I didn't ask what it was. I didn't need to. I could feel it, lurking in the silence between our breaths, in the spaces where the light didn't reach. The path narrowed, leading us down into a gorge where the sunlight barely touched the ground. The further we descended, the colder the air became, damp and heavy, like the breath of the earth itself. By the time we reached the mouth of the cave, my legs were trembling from both fatigue and fear. The cave yawned open like a wound in a mountainside, a jagged maw of stone and shadow. A stale wind poured out, carrying with it a stench that made my stomach twist. Rot, wet soil, and something metallic like blood. "This is where I first heard it," Alex said, his voice barely audible. I thought it was the wind, but it wasn't. It was calling me. "What is it?" I asked, my voice cracking. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to me with a haunted look in his eyes. "Once we go in, it will try to turn us against each other. Don't listen to anything it says. And whatever you do, don't look directly at it." We stepped inside. The darkness swallowed us instantly, devouring the faint light of my candle. I switched on my flashlight, its beam cutting through the void, but the shadows didn't retreat. They pressed closer, as though the cave itself was alive. The walls were slick with moisture, carved with more of those strange symbols, some so deep they looked like claw marks. The deeper we went, the louder the whispers became. At first they were faint, like distant echoes, but soon they grew sharp, cutting into my mind like knives. You'll die here. He's lying to you. You can't trust him. I tried to ignore them, but they spoke in Alex's voice. I glanced at him, my heart hammering, but he was walking steadily, his jaw clenched, his eyes fixed on the ground. Don't listen, he said without turning. It's trying to get in your head. The tunnel widened into a vast cavern, the ceiling disappearing into darkness. In the center was something I will never forget, a mound of black, writhing mass, like roots or veins, pulsing faintly as though it had a heartbeat. It spread across the floor and into the walls, disappearing into the rock, like the mountain's own circulatory system. It lives here, Alex said. His voice trembled, and I could see the sheen of sweat on his forehead. This is its heart. I think it feeds on us, on our fear. That's why no one ever leaves. I wanted to leave, to turn and run, but something kept me rooted in place. The mound pulsed, and I swear I saw faces forming in the black mass, mouths opening in silent screams, eyes rolling in agony. My blood ran cold as I realized I recognized one of the faces. Mom, I whispered. Her face emerged from the shifting black, twisted in pain, her eyes pleading. I stumbled forward, my flashlight trembling. Stop. Alex grabbed my arm, his grip like iron. It's not real. It's showing you what you want or what you fear the most. But... Asterisk, look at me. Asterisk, he shouted, forcing my gaze away. It's not her. It's never her. The voices grew louder, overlapping, a chorus of screams and whispers. The mound began to shift, rising from the ground, forming a shape. It was tall and impossibly thin, its surface writhing like hundreds of worms beneath a sheet of flesh. Its face, or what should have been its face, was a hollow void, blacker than anything I'd ever seen. The candle's flame flared violently in my hand, then went out. The creature tilted its head, and I felt it inside my mind, pushing thoughts into me. You will not leave. One stays. One becomes part of me. Alex stepped forward, his fists clenched. Take me, he said. No. I grabbed his arm. There has to be another way. There isn't, he whispered, his eyes filled with tears. I've been here too long. It's already inside me. I can feel it, but you can still leave. Before I could protest, the creature let out a low, guttural laugh. He speaks truth. He is mine. But you... It paused, the black void of its face tilting toward me. You are new, fresh. I prefer you. The cave trembled violently, rocks falling from the ceiling. The black mass spread across the floor, tendrils snaking toward us like living vines. Alex shoved me backward. Run. Go. I'm not leaving you again. I shouted. You don't have a choice. The tendrils lashed out, wrapping around his legs, pulling him toward the mound. He screamed, clawed at the ground, but the blackness swallowed him like quicksand. Alex! I lunged forward, grabbing his arm, but the moment I touched him, a shock of cold shot through me, and I saw things, horrible things, memories that weren't mine. People screaming, being dragged into the mountain, their faces twisted in terror as the blackness consumed them. The creature spoke again, its voice vibrating through the stone. Stay, and I will let him go. Leave, and he is mine forever. I couldn't move. My mind was a war zone of fear and desperation. I couldn't lose him, not again. Alex's eyes met mine. They were filled not with fear, but with something else, resignation. Go, he mouthed. Please. But I couldn't. I grabbed the flashlight and swung it wildly, smashing it against the carvings on the wall. Sparks flew, and the symbols began to glow, brighter and brighter, just like they had in the cabin. The creature shrieked, recoiling as the light spread across the cave. Don't stop, Alex shouted. I smashed another symbol, and another, each one glowing like fire. The mound writhed violently, its tendrils retracting from Alex as though burned. I grabbed him and pulled him toward me, both of us stumbling as the cave shook. "Run!" he screamed, and this time I listened. We sprinted through the tunnel, the walls groaning as though the mountain itself was alive and angry. The black mass chased us, tendrils snaking along the floor and walls, slamming down inches from my feet. My lungs burned, my legs screaming with exhaustion, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. When we burst out of the cave, the world outside seemed brighter than I remembered, even though the sun was already setting. I collapsed on the ground, gasping for air, the candle crushed in my fist. Alex fell beside me, his body trembling. His skin was cold, almost clammy, and his eyes were still haunted. "We're not safe," he whispered. "It's not over. It never lets go." I turned to him, my chest still heaving. "Then what do we do?" He looked at me, and for a moment I thought I saw something in his expression, something not entirely human. "We keep moving," he said, "before it finds another way out." We didn't stop running until the cave mouth was just a shadow between the trees, a black wound in the mountain's face. Even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed us out. The air was wrong. Thick, heavy, like the weight of the cave's darkness had seeped into the forest around us. Alex stumbled ahead of me, his body trembling with every step. Sweat poured down his face, and he kept looking over his shoulder like he expected something to lunge from the shadows at any second. "Alex," I said, panting, "we have to stop, just for a minute." "No," he hissed, his voice cracking. "You don't stop. That's when it gets you. That's when it slips in." Slips in. He turned to me, and for a second, I didn't recognize him. His pupils were dilated, almost swallowing the blue of his eyes. There was something hollow in his expression, something that made my skin crawl. "You felt it back there," he whispered. "It doesn't just follow. It waits. It finds the cracks in you, the doubts, the fears, and it crawls inside. Once it's in, it's like a voice you can't shut out. I can feel it even now." We moved through the forest like hunted animals. The trail we followed didn't look familiar anymore, as if the mountain had shifted while we were inside the cave. The trees seemed taller, their branches curling inward, creating a canopy that blocked out the fading sunlight. Every now and then, I'd catch movement from the corner of my eye, shadows darting between the trunks, flickers of shapes that didn't quite look human. I told myself it was exhaustion playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew better. By nightfall, we found a small clearing where the moonlight pooled like cold silver. Alex collapsed to his knees, his chest heaving. I knelt beside him, trying to catch my own breath. Did we lose it?" I asked. Alex didn't answer right away. He stared at the ground, his hands trembling. Finally, he said, "You don't lose it. You only delay it." His words sent a chill down my spine. We didn't have much choice but to rest. I gathered some wood for a fire, my hands shaking as I struck the matches. The flame flickered to life, casting a small circle of light that felt almost comforting. Almost. But even with the fire, the forest around us seemed alive, breathing, as though hundreds of unseen eyes were watching from the darkness. "Don't fall asleep," Alex said suddenly, his voice sharp. "No matter what you hear, it tries to speak to you in your dreams. That's how it gets in." I wanted to ask what he meant, but something in his tone silenced me. I nodded, though the exhaustion in my bones made the promise feel impossible. We sat in silence for what felt like hours, the fire popping and hissing. At some point, Alex pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. "I found this near the cave," he said, handing it to me. It wasn't a letter this time, but a page torn from an old journal. The handwriting was frantic, the ink smudged. Asterisk. I saw the heart again tonight. It showed me their faces, their screams. I think it's trying to make me stay. It feeds on fear. It doesn't just want us. It wants to spread, to reach beyond the mountains. God help anyone who finds this place. Asterisk. The word sent a shiver through me. I handed the paper back, my throat dry. What does it mean, spread? Alex stared into the fire. I think it can leave if it has a host. If it gets inside someone long enough, they carry it out. That's why I stayed. I thought I could keep it here. Asterisk stayed. Asterisk Alex, you were trapped. His jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought I saw his lips tremble. I thought I was, but sometimes, I'm not sure anymore. What if I wasn't supposed to leave? A sudden noise cut through the night. A crack, like a tree branch snapping under weight. Both of us froze. Did you hear that? I whispered. Alex didn't answer. His head was tilted toward the dark tree, his body rigid. Then I saw his face, and my blood ran cold. His pupils had blown wide, like they had in the cabin, and a slow smile was creeping across his lips, unnatural and wrong. Alex, he didn't answer. He stood, slow and stiff, like a puppet being pulled by strings. Alex! I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding. Snap out of it. His eyes flicked toward me, but they didn't look like his anymore. There was something else behind them. It's here, he whispered, his voice layered, distorted. It's inside me. I stepped back, my breath catching my throat. No, we fought it off. It never left, he said, his tone almost mocking. You think it lives in caves and shadows? No, it lives in fear. It's in me, and now it's in you too. Before I could react, the fire sputtered violently, as if an invisible wind had blown through the clearing. The darkness beyond the trees shifted, and something moved, a ripple of black, like liquid shadows slithering toward us. Run, Alex said, his voice breaking for a split second. I can't hold it much longer. Just run. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice. His body convulsed, his face twisting with pain as he dropped to his knees. The shadows around him pulsed like veins, snaking across the ground, reaching for me. I grabbed the nearest branch on the fire, the flames licking up its length, and swung it toward the creeping blackness. The shadows recoiled, hissing, but only for a moment. They began circling faster, as though the forest itself was closing in. Alex, fight it! I screamed. His head snapped up, and for a moment, just a moment, I saw him. The real Alex. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, If I lose, don't let it take me with you. Don't let me become it. Before I could respond, the shadows surged forward, swallowing the clearing in a wave of black. I ran. I didn't look back. Branches clawed at my face. Roots grabbed at my ankles, but I kept running, my lungs screaming. I could still hear Alex's voice behind me, shouting my name, then screaming, then silence. The forest felt endless. Every turn looked the same, every tree like the last. But then I saw it, something that stopped me cold. A light, a cabin. Not the first one, not the second. This was different. The windows glowed with a warm, golden light, like a beacon in the dark. I approached slowly, my heart hammering. It looked almost normal, cozy even. Smoke rose from the chimney. Through the window, I thought I saw a table set for dinner, a fire crackling in the hearth. But the closer I got, the more wrong it felt. The light wasn't steady. It pulsed, and the smoke smelled not of wood, but of burning metal. My hand hovered over the door handle. Something deep in my gut screamed at me not to open it. Then I heard Alex's voice. Come in, it said. It's safe here. I stood frozen at the cabin's door, my heart pounding so violently I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. Alex's voice had sounded so close, so familiar, but there was something off about it, an echo, a distortion, as if it wasn't coming from him but through him. My hand hovered over the handle, trembling. Come in. The voice said again, warm and inviting, but wrong in a way that made my skin crawl. I pulled my hand back. Alex, if that's you, prove it, I said, my voice shaking. For a moment, there was silence. Then the voice replied, perfectly calm, You never told me why you stopped writing to me after high school. I froze. That was something only Alex would know, a memory only we shared. Against every instinct screaming in my head, I pushed the door open. The inside of the cabin was perfect, too perfect. The fire and the hearth burned bright. The table was set with plates of steaming food, and the walls were lined with pictures. Photographs of me and Alex from when we were kids, moments I'd forgotten until I saw them here. Alex, I called, stepping inside. The door creaked shut behind me. At first, I didn't see him. Then he emerged from the shadows at the far end of the room, smiling. But it wasn't the smile I knew. It was too wide, too stiff, like someone had painted it onto his face. "You made it," he said, his voice warm, but his eyes were black, completely black. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. What happened to you?" "It's better here," he said, taking a slow step forward. "No pain, no fear, just peace. We can stay, both of us, forever." "This isn't you," I whispered. His smile widened, the skin around his mouth cracking slightly, as if it was stretched too thin. "Isn't it? Don't you remember how we used to talk about running away? About finding a place no one could ever find us? We found it." I turned to the door, but it was gone. Not just closed, gone. The wall where it had been was smooth, seamless, as if it had never existed. My stomach dropped. "You don't need the door," Alex said, his tone soothing now. "You just need to stay." The cabin began to shift around me. The walls pulsed like they were alive, the wood warping into shapes. Faces, screaming faces, their mouths open wide. I stumbled back, hitting the table, and the plates shattered, spilling not food but black, writhing worms onto the floor. "Stop it," I shouted, covering my ears. Alex tilted his head, the motion sharp and unnatural. "Why are you fighting? You've been lost since you got here. The mountain told me. It showed me. You don't have to run anymore." I backed toward the hearth, grabbing the iron poker. "I don't know what you are, but you're not Alex." He paused. The smile faded. "You're right," he said, his voice dropping into a guttural growl. "He's mine now." The room erupted. The fire in the hearth roared black, smoke pouring out in thick waves. The walls twisted, melting like wax, revealing a void beyond, a swirling mass of darkness, writhing and alive. Alex's body jerked violently, his limbs twisting in ways that shouldn't be possible. His face split, a crack forming from his mouth to his temple, revealing something beneath, something dark and wet, pulsing like muscle. "Give yourself to me," the voice said, no longer Alex's but a chorus of screams and whispers. "Or watch him die inside me." I lunged forward, swinging the poker. It slammed into his shoulder, and the thing shrieked, a sound that rattled my bones. The blackness poured from the wound like smoke, hissing where it touched the floor. "You can't hurt me," it snarled, stepping closer. "Then let him go." I screamed. The thing paused, tilting its head as if amused. "You think you can bargain? You think you can win?" The room shook violently, the photographs on the walls distorting, the faces inside them screaming silently. The blackness began to pour from every corner of the cabin, crawling across the floor toward me like a flood. I backed up until my shoulders hit the hearth. My eyes darted around, searching for anything, any way out. That's when I saw it. Carved into the stone above the fireplace was a symbol, just like the ones we'd seen in the other cabins and in the cave. I grabbed the poker and slammed it into the carving. Sparks flew, and the symbol flared with a white-hot light. The creature howled, its voice filling the cabin like a storm. The walls cracked, splitting apart as beams of light shot through. Alex, or whatever was left of him, stumbled backward, clutching his head. For a brief moment, I saw his real face, terrified and pleading. "Help me," he gasped. I didn't think. I swung again, striking the symbol until it glowed brighter and brighter. The cabin shuddered like it was alive, the blackness writhing and recoiling. The void beyond the walls shrieked, its voice a thousand overlapping cries of anger and pain. And then silence. The cabin exploded into light. When I opened my eyes, I was outside. The cabin was gone, nothing but a circle of dead grass where it had stood. Alex was lying a few feet away, unconscious but breathing. His skin was pale, but his eyes fluttered open as I crawled to him. "Are you?" I asked. "I think so," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "But it's not gone. I can feel it. It's still watching." The forest was eerily quiet. No wind, no birds, just silence. "We need to keep moving," Alex said, sitting up with effort. There's one more place, one last chance to end this. What place? The tree, he said, his voice trembling. The one they say the mountain grew from. If we destroy it, maybe we can break its hold. The forest grew darker as we made our way toward what Alex called the root of the mountain. He spoke of it like a living thing, a heart that beat beneath the earth and sent its tendrils through every shadow, every whispering tree. His voice was low and strained, like every word cost him energy he didn't have. I wanted to believe he was still himself, that the thing inside him hadn't taken control, but I wasn't sure anymore. The path wasn't a path at all. It was more like the forest had opened just enough to let us pass, the ground soft and spongy under our boots, the air heavy with rot. I could smell it, the faint, coppery tang of blood mixed with damp earth. Are you sure this is the way? I asked, my voice trembling. Alex didn't look back. I can feel it. It's calling me. Hours passed, or maybe just minutes. Time didn't feel real here. The deeper we went, the more distorted the forest became. Trees twisted in grotesque shapes, their trunks hollow and black, like burned-out corpses. Every few feet, I thought I saw faces in the bark, mouths open in silent screams, eyes carved deep into the wood. At one point, I reached out to touch a tree, and its surface was warm. Not just warm, asterisk pulsing asterisk, like it had a heartbeat. I jerked my hand back with a gasp. It's alive, Alex muttered, as if reading my thoughts. The whole mountain. We're inside it. We came to a stream, its water black and sluggish, carrying bits of something that looked like hair or strands of moss. The bridge across it was nothing more than a fallen log, slick with slime. Alex went first, his movement slow but sure. I followed, my legs shaking, my breath catching every time the log shifted under my weight. Halfway across, I heard a voice. Why are you still following him? I froze. The voice wasn't Alex's. It wasn't human at all. It was inside my head, low and cold, like oil dripping into my brain. He's not yours anymore. He's mine. Shut up, I whispered, gripping the log tighter. Alex turned, his expression wary. What? Nothing. I lied, forcing my feet to keep moving. The voice was gone, but its echo lingered, gnawing at the edges of my mind. On the other side of the stream, the forest changed again. The air grew thicker, every breath a struggle. The ground sloped upward, and soon we were climbing, the trees thinning until they gave way to jagged rocks and open sky. That's when I saw it. The tree. It stood alone on a mountainside, massive and ancient, its trunk gnarled and blackened, as though it had been burned but never fully destroyed. Its branches stretched wide, clawing at the sky, and its roots snaked across the ground like the tentacles of some buried beast. But it wasn't just a tree. The moment I looked at it, I knew it was a mountain's heart, its brain, its soul. The blackness in the cave, the shadows in the cabins, it all came from this. We burn it, Alex said, his voice steady now, almost calm. We burn it, and it dies. And maybe we go free. We approached cautiously, every step heavier than the last. The ground around the tree was littered with bones, animal, human. I couldn't tell. The closer we got, the louder the whispers became. They weren't coming from the wind, or from Alex. They were coming from the tree itself. Stay, it hissed. Stay, and I'll give you everything. Safety, warmth, peace. I clenched my fists. Shut up, I muttered, though part of me wanted to listen. When we reached the base of the tree, I realized its bark wasn't bark at all. It was flesh, dark, leathery, and shifting, as if something alive moved just beneath the surface. I gagged as I touched it with the edge of the poker I'd kept since the cabin. It's waiting, Alex said, for one of us to give in. Don't let it be you. What about you? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he took the lighter from his pocket and flicked it open, the tiny flame dancing in the wind. Help me spread the fire. We can't give it a chance to fight back. We worked in silence, tearing strips of cloth from our clothes, soaking them in oil from the lantern I'd carried since the cave. Every time I pressed a flame to the tree, it hissed like water on hot metal, the whispers turning into screams that rattled my skull. Then Out of nowhere, I heard my mother's voice. "Don't do this," she said. I froze. The voice was so real, so close. I turned, and there she was, standing just a few feet away, her eyes soft, her smile warm. "Mom." She reached out a hand. "Come home, sweetheart. You don't have to fight anymore. You're safe now." I stumbled toward her, tears filling my eyes. I hadn't seen her in years, not since the accident. How could she be here? Then Alex's voice cut through the haze, sharp and desperate. "It's not her. Don't look at it." I blinked, and for just a second, the image of my mother flickered, her face warping, melting into something black and hollow. I stumbled back with a gasp. The tree roared. Yes, roared. Its voice a guttural sound that shook the mountain. Its roots erupted from the ground, writhing like snakes. One of them lashed out, striking Alex across the chest and sending him flying into the rocks. "Alex!" I screamed, dropping the lighter as I ran to him. Blood was pouring from a gash on his shoulder, his face twisted in pain. "You have to finish it," he groaned. "Burn it all. Don't stop no matter what." I grabbed the lighter and turned back to the tree. The roots were everywhere now, thrashing and writhing, trying to knock the flames from the bark. I dodged one, then another, sparks flying as I slammed the poker into its fleshy surface. The tree screamed, a sound that made my vision blur and my teeth ache. "Why fight me?" it hissed. "You'll never leave. Not with him. He's already mine." I hesitated, glancing at Alex. He was trying to stand, blood dripping from his mouth, his eyes distant. "No," I whispered. "No, you can't have him." I shoved a lighter into a gap in the bark, igniting the oil-soaked cloth. The flames caught this time, racing up the trunk, bright and hungry. The tree thrashed violently, roots lashing in every direction. One of them wrapped around my ankle and yanked me off my feet, dragging me toward the trunk. "Let her go." Alex roared, grabbing the poker and jamming it into the root, holding me. It recoiled with a shriek, releasing me. "Run," he shouted. "Get away from it while you can." But I didn't. I stayed, feeding the flames, throwing every ounce of energy I had into burning the cursed thing down. The fire spread quickly now, devouring the tree's blackened flesh, its screams rising to a deafening pitch. As the flames reached the highest branches, the entire mountain seemed to tremble. Cracks split the ground, and a deep, hollow roar echoed through the earth. "It's dying," Alex said, his voice hoarse. "But if it dies, it might take us with it." Before I could answer, the ground beneath us collapsed. We fell. The world spun in a blur of fire and shadows as we tumbled into darkness. I remember hitting something hard, the breath knocked from my lungs, and then nothing but black. When I opened my eyes, I was somewhere else entirely. Darkness. Not the kind you find when you close your eyes, but something heavier, alive. It pressed against my skin like wet fabric, thick and suffocating. When I tried to move, I felt the ground beneath me pulsing, as though I were lying on a giant, beating heart. My breath came in ragged gasps, and for a moment, I thought I'd been swallowed whole by the mountain. "Alex!" My voice cracked, barely a whisper in oppressive silence. For a long, terrible moment, there was no answer. Then I heard him, faint and strained. "I'm here." I crawled toward the sound of his voice, my hand sinking into the spongy surface beneath me. It felt warm and slick, like raw flesh. I tried not to think about it, but the smell, coppery, rotten, and thick, clung to my throat. I reached him after what felt like an eternity. He was sprawled on the ground, blood seeping through his torn shirt, his face pale and drawn. "We're not out," I said, my voice trembling. No, his eyes fluttered open, glazed but focused on me. "We're inside. This is where it lives, where it was born." I looked around, trying to understand where we were. It wasn't a cave, not exactly. The walls pulsed with a sickly red glow, veins of black running through them like cracks in glass. Above us, something writhed in the darkness, a shape too big to comprehend. Its body shifting and coiling like smoke, its surface glistening with wetness. Then I heard it, the voice. You come far. It said, the sound vibrating through the floor, the walls, my bones. But you cannot leave. Not now. The shape above us descended, tendrils unraveling from its mass. Each one tipped with something that looked like a hand, long, bony fingers ending in claws. It was neither creature nor shadow, but something in between, its form constantly shifting, as if reality itself rejected it. Give me one of you, it said. One will stay. The other may leave. My stomach turned to ice. No, we're both leaving. A low, rumbling laugh shook the ground beneath us. You think you have a choice? This place is mine. You breathe because I allow it. You move because I allow it. I am the mountain, and I am forever. Alex coughed, blood flecking his lips. Don't listen to it, he rasped. It's trying to make you choose. That's how it wins. The tendrils writhed closer, circling us like snakes. I grabbed Alex's arm and tried to pull him up, but he was weak, his legs barely holding his weight. We have to move, I said, though I had no idea where we could possibly go. There's no path here, Alex whispered. We're in its body. The only way out is to kill it. Kill it? I asked, my voice rising in panic. How do you kill something like this? He looked at me, his eyes burning with a strange determination. It's heart. There's always a heart. We have to find it. The voice laughed again, the sound echoing through the fleshy walls. You think you can kill me? Foolish little insects. I am older than your world, older than your gods. You are nothing but food to me. The tendrils lunged. I dragged Alex behind me, scrambling across the pulsing ground as one of the tendrils slammed down where we'd been seconds before. The impact sent a tremor through the surface, knocking me off balance. I grabbed a shard of jagged rock, if it even was rock, and swung it at the nearest tendril. Black ichor sprayed from the wound, hissing as it hit the ground. The creature shrieked, the sound deafening. Run, Alex shouted. We ran. Or rather, I half-dragged Alex as we stumbled through the nightmare landscape. The ground sloped downward into a tunnel that pulsed like the inside of a living throat. Every step we took sent vibrations through the floor, as if the mountain itself was aware of our movements. Keep going, Alex urged, his voice hoarse. It's trying to corner us. Don't stop. The tunnel twisted and turned, narrowing in places until I had to crawl. The air grew hotter, thicker, until every breath burned my lungs. Then I saw it. At the end of the tunnel was a chamber, vast and open, and at its center was a heart, a literal, monstrous heart the size of a car, suspended by thick, vein-like roots. It beat slowly, each thump sending ripples through the floor and walls. Alex stared at it with wide, terrified eyes. That's it, he whispered. That's where it all comes from. The voice spoke again, but now it wasn't just in my head. It was everywhere, a scream, a whisper, a growl all at once. You touch it, and you die. I clenched my fists around the shard of rock. We don't have a choice. The moment I stepped toward the heart, the walls erupted. Tendrils shot out from every direction, slamming into ground, whipping through the air. I dodged one, then another, the shard cutting deep into the nearest root. The creature howled, the entire chamber trembling like it might collapse. Do it, Alex yelled. I swung again and again, tearing into the pulsing veins feeding the heart. Black ichor poured out, burning my skin where it touched me. The heart thumped faster, harder, as if trying to fight back. Then one of the tendrils wrapped around my arm, yanking me off my feet. I screamed, the shard slipping from my grasp. Let her go. Alex roared. He grabbed the shard and plunged it into the root, holding me. It released me instantly, but at a cost. Another tendril slammed into his side, throwing him across the chamber. Alex! I scrambled to him, but he was barely conscious, his breath ragged. Stay with me? You have to finish it, he whispered, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, before it's too late. I turned back to Hart, rage boiling through my fear. I picked up the shard and drove it deep into the pulsing flesh. The chamber erupted, the walls convulsed, the tendrils thrashing violently. The voice screamed, not words now but pure animal rage. The heart burst, spraying black fluid in every direction. The ground beneath us gave way. We fell again, deeper this time, through layers of darkness and heat, until we landed hard on cold stone. I gasped for breath, every bone in my body aching. We were back in the mountains. But everything was wrong. The forest above was gone, replaced by a black sky filled with swirling ash. The ground was cracked and dry, the air vibrating with a low hum. Alex groaned, sitting up with effort. "It's not dead," he said. "It's angry." In the distance, something moved, rising from the ground like a mountain of shadow and bone. It had no face, no clear form, just a towering mass of limbs and claws and teeth, all shifting and blending together. The voice came again, deeper than before, shaking the ground beneath us. "You cannot kill me, but you can take my place." The thing rising from the shattered earth was beyond anything I had ever imagined. It was not just a creature, but a presence, a force that bent reality around it. Shadows clung to its shape like a living cloak, and within its shifting mass, I glimpsed faces, hundreds of them, screaming in silent agony. The voices of those faces filled the air, whispering, begging, wailing in a chorus that made my skin crawl and my mind quake. Alex stumbled to his feet, swaying like he might collapse at any moment. His face was pale, his eyes glassy, but there was something stubborn, almost defiant in his gaze. "It's not dead," he murmured. "We've heard it, but now I want to end this." I stared up at the towering entity, my breath caught in my throat. It was looking at us, or at least I felt it looking. Its formless head tilted ever so slightly, and its voice boomed through my skull like thunder. "One of you will stay. One of you will carry me, become me. Choose, and the other walks free." "No," I said, my voice shaking. "We're not playing your game. We've come too far." The shadows rippled, and awful laughter rolled across the cracked ground. "There is no far. There is only me. Your blood, your fear, they feed me. You are already mine." Alex stepped forward, his movements uneven but determined. "Take me," he said. The words hit me like a punch. "No." I grabbed his arm, shaking my head. "No, Alex. We'll find another way. Don't you dare." He turned to me, his face twisted with pain. "It's inside me already. You know it. It's been there since the cave. I can feel it crawling under my skin, whispering in my mind. If I don't stop it, it'll spread. It'll find you." The entity leaned closer, its shadowy tendrils creeping toward us like smoke. "He is not wrong. He is mine already. Give him to me, and I will let you leave." My heart pounded in my chest, my mind spinning. "No," I said again, louder this time. "You don't get to choose for us. You don't get to win." But how could we fight something like this? A living mountain of hatred, a thing that had devoured countless souls over God knows how many centuries? My grip on the shard of rock tightened. I couldn't let Alex sacrifice himself, but I also couldn't let this thing live. "We'll burn you out," I whispered. The shadow paused. "What?" Alex turned to me, confused. "What are you talking about?" I saw what the fire did to the tree. Fire hurts it. It fears fire. If we burn the heart, we can burn the rest. Alex's eyes widened in understanding. "But the heart's gone. It's destroyed." "Not all of it," I said, looking around. "This place, this whole nightmare, it's part of the heart. We just have to light it." The entity screeched, a sound so powerful it shook the ground beneath our feet. "Fools! You cannot burn what has no body. I am in you already. I am in everything." Its tendrils lashed out, one slamming into Alex and knocking him to the ground. I screamed, diving to his side. He coughed, blood running from his mouth, but he still clutched my hand. "Do it," he whispered. "Don't think. Just do it." I looked down at him, my chest tightening. "I can't leave you here." "I won't." "You have to. If one of us gets out, it's worth it." His eyes locked onto mine, pleading but determined. "Promise me you'll finish it." Before I could argue, the shadows surged again, a massive tendril shooting toward me. I barely rolled aside, the ground exploding where I had been moments before. Something caught my eye, a glimmer of metal half buried in the ground. It was a lantern we'd carried earlier, cracked but not broken. My heart leapt. I grabbed it, my hands trembling, and flicked the lighter's wheel until it sparked to life. The flame was small, weak, but in this darkness, it was enough. The entity hissed, recoiling like a wounded animal. "Put that down," it growled, the voices in its body screeching in unison. "Not a chance," I said, standing. I turned to Alex. "When I tell you to run, you run. Don't look back." He shook his head violently. "I'm not leaving you." "Yes, you are. One of us has to live." Before he could argue, I sprinted toward the nearest tendril, holding the lantern high. I smashed it on the ground, the oil spilling out in a slick puddle. The flame leapt from the lighter to the oil, igniting with a roar. The ground itself began to burn. The entity screamed, a raw, guttural sound that made the air vibrate. Its form twisted and recoiled, the faces in its mass writhing in agony. I ran in a wide arc, dragging the fire with me, spreading the flames as fast as I could. The fleshy ground beneath us burned like dry wood, black ichor bubbling and sizzling. "No," the entity roared. "You will burn with me." A tendril shot out, wrapping around my waist. I screamed as it lifted me off the ground, the firelight flickering in my hand. I swung the lighter wildly, jamming it into the tendril surface. It shrieked and dropped me, the smell of burning flesh filling the air. I landed hard, pain shooting up my leg, but I kept moving, feeding the fire until the whole ground beneath us was a sea of flames. "Run!" I screamed at Alex, but he didn't run. Instead, he limped toward me, grabbing my arm. "We're finishing this together." The shadow entity was thrashing wildly now, its form collapsing in on itself, the fire eating through every inch of its grotesque body. The screams of all those trapped souls grew louder, merging into one terrible sound. The flames climbed higher, and suddenly, the ground began to crack and crumble. A rush of wind, no, not wind, but suction, pulled at us. The world was collapsing, the mountain swallowing itself. "Move!" Alex shouted, dragging me toward the far edge of the burning ground. We stumbled, tripped, and clawed our way up the shifting rocks, the fire chasing us like a living thing. Then, with a deafening roar, the entity exploded into a column of black smoke and fire. I felt the shock wave slam into me, throwing both of us out onto the mountainside. I hit the ground hard, the breath knocked out of me. When I looked back, the shadow was gone. The mountain was burning. The ground where we had stood was nothing but a crater of smoldering ash. We lay there for what felt like hours, staring at the dawn breaking over the peaks. The air was quiet now. No whispers, no shadows, just silence. "Is it over?" I asked softly. Alex didn't answer right away. He stared at the sky, his expression unreadable. Finally, he said, "For now, but I don't think something like that ever truly dies." We made our way down the mountain slowly, every step painful, our bodies bruised and bloodied. When we reached the base, the forest was still, lifeless. As we walked, I noticed something strange. Alex's shadow, it wasn't quite right. It moved when he didn't, just a flicker, barely noticeable. "Alex," I started, but the words caught in my throat. He looked at me and smiled, a small, tired smile. "Let's just get home," he said. That night, I dreamed of the mountain, of the black heart beating beneath the earth, of the voice whispering softly, "Asterisk, you never left. You never will. Asterisk." I woke up screaming, and when I turned to check on Alex, I found him sitting up in bed, staring at me with those same glassy eyes he'd had in the cave. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. He tilted his head, that strange, too slow movement. "Why would I need to sleep," he said softly, "when I'm finally awake?